Welcome back, YouTube. David here. Got a new video for y'all, but before we get into it, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. So we're now in week 3 of the Straw Strength Transformation Challenge. Week 1, I went over whatever the goals were. Week 2, went over the food, the diet, that sort of thing. And then week 3, now we're actually going to be going over the programming. So what workout program am I going to be following so that I can reach my goals? Well, currently I'm doing 4 main workouts throughout the week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then the last one, which is optional, just depends if I have the time or if my body's not too beat up, I will do an additional workout on Saturday. So Monday is legs, Tuesday is a push day, so chest, triceps, and shoulders. Wednesday is a pull day, back and biceps. And then Thursday again is legs. Saturday, which is the optional one, it is a strongman day. So what do each day consist of? Week number 1, or I should say day number 1, legs. I always start off my leg day with squats. As a matter of fact, I start every workout with the main compound movement. For me, it takes priority, multi-joint movements, get the most bang for your buck, work out multiple muscle groups so that you can push the most weights. That's why I want to dedicate majority of the energy I have while I'm fresh. So exercise number 1 is always going to be a squat. Exercise number 2, again, I'm going to go in order of importance for me personally, deadlifts. So right when I'm done with squats, move on to deadlifts. It just works better. I don't have to spend more time warming up my legs. They already are warmed up and already been worked out from the squats, so I can just jump into some heavy weight for deadlifts. Once I get those 2 main movements out of the way, then I start looking at the quote-unquote bodybuilding movement, the assistance movement. Now I'm actually focused on each individual muscle, trying to build up each one separately. So first things first, quads are going to take importance for this first leg day. So for this week, I did hack squats. For those who don't know, the hack squat is typically on like the leg press. It kind of looks like the leg press, but it's inverted. So your legs are down on the ground and your shoulders are up against the piece that moves or slides up and down. If you don't have one, make sure that you get at least a barbell and a landmine. Just stick it in the corner, put the bar up on your shoulder, and then with that, boom, real easy. That's the way you can get a homemade hack squat. Homemade. So that one, I do it for quad emphasis. The fact that my knee has to bend so much more, there's a greater degree of knee flexion. That means the quads have to work harder to get myself back up. Afterwards, now I start moving into my hamstrings. So for this week, I did back extensions. Real easy, you know, just got a good stretch in the hamstrings, came up, contracted. And one thing that has really helped for me, if you ever do those type of back extensions and you feel it too much in your lower back, instead round your back while you're doing it and think of it like you're thrusting your hips into the pad instead of thinking of just lifting your torso up. Believe me, that has helped me a lot. Feel it directly in the hammies, which is what I want. Lastly, I actually superset 2 movements. That's also another thing I do for every workout. The last 2 movements I always superset. It's going to be one muscle that's specific to whatever that day is, for example legs, and then the second movement is usually a core movement. So for the last 2, I did seated calf raises. Or not seated calf raises, regular calf raises, I think. I can't even remember what I did. Supersetted with reverse hyper. Again, I don't have the reverse hyper, but really all it is the opposite of a leg raise. Your stomach down over whatever platform, and you're kicking your legs back. So I just went over on the back extension machine, supported my torso over the actual pad, and just started swinging my legs. I decided to do it with a band. For the actual rep ranges for all of these, every week, the main compound movement, I make sure that I'm following whatever set or whatever rep scheme is listed for that week. So for this week, all the compound movements have to be 3 sets of 8. After that, all the assistance movements, so the bodybuilding workouts, those were 3 sets of 8 to 12 rep ranges, right around that. For day number 2, push day, start off with bench press and dumbbell press. Again, those are the main compound movements. Takes majority of the work, majority of the energy. That's where I want to dedicate most of my energy. So 3 sets of 8 for those, and then afterwards started moving into the more individual muscle groups, again the bodybuilding. So went on to a little bit of shoulders, did some dumbbell shoulder press. That's gonna hit a little bit more of the front delt. Afterwards I did cable laterals. I'm reading the workout here because I can't remember everything I did one week. Cable laterals, now I'm hitting more of the side delt. And then last 2 exercises, again supersetting, I did rope pushdowns for the triceps. And then for my core movement for that day, I don't remember if I did a core movement. Oh, that day I did crunches, I remember. I don't think I filmed it though. So again, main movements 3 sets of 8, everything else 8 to 12 rep range, but you have to fail within that rep range. The last rep should be very difficult to get. That's how you know you're pushing it. Moving on to pull day. So started off with bent over rows. That's my main movement, and then moved on to pull-ups. But for this week specifically, I did body weight. Usually if I were to be doing pull-ups, I would go more along the lines of some type of weighted movement. But once we get into the higher rep range, I can't add weight because my body weight is already enough for that. Main movements, sets of 8, and then afterwards went over to some seated cable rows. And you know, it's kind of hard when you don't have the actual machine, so I have to try to build it, but hey, it feels really good on my back. It's a good shot at making it, whatever. And I like to do it with the wider handles. Some people do it with the V-bar, but the problem I have with that is once I bring it close to my chest, once my hands come up to my torso, I can't go any farther back because the handle is getting in the way. So by using the wider grip, I can go all the way back. And then finished off the actual back exercises with just regular dumbbell shrugs, got a real good pump in the traps, then moved on to the biceps. For the biceps, I did regular dumbbell curls, and then for that week, again, I supersetted with more reverse hypers for, you know, lower back / glutes. And I like to point out, the main movements or in the bigger muscle groups are going first, and then afterwards, I hit the smaller muscle groups. So on this back day, the reason why I started with back and then moved on to biceps is because the back is such a bigger, stronger muscle group. I want to take that as the priority. But if I were to start with the biceps first, by the time I get to the back exercises, I won't be able to push as hard because my biceps are already fried. That's going to be the limiting factor. You want the limiting factor to be the big muscle group and then go into the small muscle groups. Because think about it, when you do any type of row pull-up, you're working on your back, but you're also working your bicep. However, if you're doing bicep exercises directly, such as a curl, you're only working your biceps and not the back. Think about these type of things. 4th day of the week, Thursday, another leg day. However, this one is now more posterior chain emphasis. You've noticed the first one, I emphasized a little bit more of the quads. Now for this one, I'm emphasizing more of the hammies and glutes. Still starting off with squats. Typically, I will start off with safety squat bar squats, but since I have to work out at school, they don't have that bar, so I just settled for regular squats, which is no big deal. I just added in a pause at the bottom. That works perfectly. Usually it would have been a box squat, but they don't have a box that's quite low enough there. I could have used the bench, but the benches are a little high, so I just regular pauses at the bottom. That's good enough for me. Afterwards, moved on to hip thrust. Luckily they have the machine, so that's a good benefit. If I were to do it at home, I had to spend all the time setting up the bar, and everyone knows how much of a pain in the ass that is. So those are the 2 main movements, each one doing for my sets of 8. Then move into the assistance exercises. Like I said, hamstring emphasis, boom, just hit them. RDLs, did it with the bar, 8 to 12 rep ranges, got a good stretch at the bottom. Then moved on to leg curls, and typically when I'm at home, I have the regular leg curls where your stomach down. But since I'm at school, they have the seated leg curl. I'm going to take advantage any chance I get. I'm going to be using that because now the fact that my knee is extended, basically locked out, and I'm bending at my hip because I'm sitting on a chair, my hamstrings are in the lengthened position, so I have to go through even more range of motion to contract it. It's just overall, from my opinion, better for development, for your overall muscle development. And then finished off with calves. If I was at home, remember I said I would initially start with safety squat bar squats, and then at the very end, when I do my calf raises, I'll just go ahead and do the calf raises with that bar on my back for weight, because body weight is not enough for me since it's already set up. But since I'm over here at school, that wasn't gonna really work out, because you try balancing a bar on your back for regular squats while doing calf raises, it's not gonna work. So what I decided to do is I went on the leg press machine, and luckily the platform is just like the right shape, so if I were to put my toes on the edge of the platform, my heels can go through so they can stretch, and I'm pretty much just doing a calf raise on there, and it has the weight stack, so I could just make it as heavy as I want. That's perfect, that works out. And then the core exercise that I was superset with that was Russian twist. And I like to say core specifically for each days. Most people, when they say they need to work on the core, they have a weak core. First things that they do is work on their abs. Remember, abs are just the front. That's just your 6-pack, 8-pack, depending how lean you are. That's not everything. You still got your obliques, lower back and back. There's just so many more muscles in your core other than just your abs. So make sure you address all of them. So as you notice, I worked out different sides of it. Some days I worked out the back side when I did my reverse hypers. Some days I work the front when I did the crunches. On this day I'm working more of the sides when I do my twists. So just see where it is that you need to work. Don't just address one side only. Like that squat day, just like any other day, first 2 movements, sets of 8, everything else 8 to 12 rep ranges. Real easy. Make sure that I fail within those 8 to 12 rep ranges for all these movements. For the main compound movements, I made sure that by the time I got to the 8th rep that I'm feeling it. Make sure it's difficult. Make sure I'm allowing adequate rest so that the remaining 2 sets that I have left, I can still hit 8. Because I don't want to do 8 on the first set, 8 on the second, and then by the third I can only do 5. No, I'm going to allow myself adequate rest time so that I can get 8 reps or however many is the designated reps for each one. And then lastly, I would normally do the strongman workout for each. And then for the strongman workout, it would typically vary. So usually event number 1 or exercise number 1 will be some type of medley, like carrying a keg from one end to another, farmer's walk, basically moving an object from point A to point B. Second exercise will be some type of pressing event. So the pressing event could be like a log, dumbbell, basically anything I'm lifting over my head. And then exercise number 3 will be some type of lower body emphasis strongman event. So it could be flipping a tire, deadlift using the axle bar, maybe another form of squats, things like that. And I'll always finish off with some grip strength. Grip strength, nothing too fancy about it. Just grab something, hold on for a long period of time, make it heavy. There's just so many things you can do for grip strength. I have plenty of videos already showing you the type of things that I do. So to sum it up, that pretty much is everything that I do in a week. This just so happened to have been the exercises I did for this week. Nothing too crazy. It was real fun, real easy. Like I said, next week the main compound movements are going to be for sets of 5, the following week for sets of 3, and then the week after that bumping it back up sets of 6. That's the only thing that changed. Everything else pretty much follows the same format. Occasionally the type of exercises will change. For example, leg day, instead of doing a hack squat, I may do a goblet squat, but whatever. It's just the general format. I know what exercises work for me and I'm going to stick to them. That's what I encourage you all to do. You don't always have to change the workout on a week-to-week basis. Just find those core exercises that your body responds well to and stick to them. That's it for today, everyone. Like always, if there's any videos you want to see me do, make sure you comment it down below. I'm open to all suggestions. Make sure you subscribe to not just my channel, but my girlfriend's channel and our couples channel together. And then for Instagram and TikTok, make sure you follow us on the individual accounts and the couples accounts as well. I put all the links down in the description below. With that being said, catch y'all next time.